I'm still working on this car. I know I was gonna do Ryan's car, but I just want to get this car finished. I did find the problem with the high amperage breakers. Let me grab a flashlight. Because you've got the regular fuse panel that I've already put the glove box back in, guys, but you've got the regular fuse panel that sits in here, and right here on the back wall I can just make it out. There's the high amperage, the 30 amp breakers down there. Now how they've done them is they got them in a row, but instead of connecting power to all of them, they've got these little jumper strips, so only one of them has the feed, and these little jumpers feed the rest. And there's two sets, and one of them was broken. I don't think it was burnt because I'm not seeing, like, I know it's dark there, but it looks more like a fatigue, because if it was burnt it kind of would have been melted and soft, and this is really sharp edged. But so this one here was the window feed. I can't remember what that one was because I was just probing it with my multimeter. I had voltage here but nothing here, and I could barely see it because it's really buried behind a whole bunch of heavy cables and you can't move them. So I had to put a not this one, but a 1 foot extension all the way through so I could get in between all the cables without busting anything up and wrecking the vacuum lines. So I do have power at the windows now. So here's what the problem is typically with these Lincolns and Continentals. Turn the ignition on. You'll turn the ignition on and you'll buy one of these cars and all you hear is this. See? Hear that? And nothing moves. Or like the other side. I actually did get this window moving, so that one still works, but I'm going to have to replace the pucks. So I'm going to show you tonight is, I'm just going to do the drivers because the other side's the same thing, how to get these out. Because when these pucks are broken, you can move the window up and down, because you need to get the glass down so you can get at these bolts here. I'm just doing this quickly. One of these bolts holds the window in, and it's also the adjuster, so you can align the window with this. And there's one back here as well. It's up here, I think. It's still a little further up. And then what I usually do is with a pair of these, and I put some protection on them so they don't mar the chrome. You only want to just clamp it enough to hold the glass. You don't want to heavily compress it because you'll bust the window out. So with a bit of plastic or some good hard cardboard, just clamp this. I don't just clamp this hard enough so it'll sit there and hold that window in place. And you do the same on this side with some protection. That stops the window from dropping down, because these windows are really, really heavy. So that's I've got a set of these. That's how I do it. I just put enough pressure in there just to hold it, so you could still slide it, because especially this one here, this is really soft. It's a very thin stainless steel, but you've got to hold that window up so you can get the regulator out. But I'm going to show you how to do that. And the other thing is, you can buy the little discs at the auto parts store. How I do it is, I went to Ace Hardware and brought a 1/2 inch aluminum stock, because this is what goes wrong with these. I'll grab the motor. Hang on. This is a Chinese knockoff motor. It's not the correct one, but the gearbox is the same. Just this motor is not. It's got the wrong wiring on it too. So with a little screwdriver, you take this plate off. because by the time when you take it off the, I'm going to show you how to do this, but this is what goes wrong with these. So you take that little screw out. I'm holding the camera and doing this with one hand, so it's a little awkward. You take this plate off. This is the gear set that sits in here. So that one runs off the motor, and then this one runs on the regulator that lifts the motor up and down. Now what they do is, what Ford did back in the day, it's a little greasy, it's hard to grab. They put little plastic discs in here as kind of a fail-safe. So like if someone got stuck in the window or something's jammed in the window, it wouldn't bust it. It would smash these little pucks. I've got them in there with grease so they don't move. But this is how I do it. The other way to do it too is, I've done this, is just get some like 3/8 nuts and just round them off. I've done it this way as well, just round them off. You just want to get those hard edges off. So it sits in here like that. Because what happens is this goes in here like so. And it grabs those little nuts. It's also like a little buffer because it has a little bit of movement. That's how you do it. But what I'm doing now is, instead of buying those stupid plastic pucks, because they keep breaking, I get aluminum rod. This is a 1/2 inch rod, and I just flatten one side down a little bit, so you got to put a bit of grease in here so they stay in place. Otherwise, they see like that, they fall down, and you can't get that little second gear in there. So you just go like that. It's up to you how you want to do it. If you want to get the correct ones, they're like $10 a set, so that's $20 for a vehicle. They're $10 for 3. You just go like that. So I just flatten them off, and then I just get this, and you just kind of, you may have to grab a little screwdriver and just kind of move it into position, because they want to fall down all the time. See, like that. They keep slipping down. I gotta lift this up a little bit, just a little bit, so it goes like that, so I can grab it and just line them up there. So that's how you do it. So that goes in there, like, you clean it all up, grease them, you put this in here like that, and then you just screw this plate back on. It's just one little screw, because this is bolted onto the regulator. But that's how you repair these. See, still has a little bit of play in there. That's because you want a little bit of, so it doesn't shock the window when it goes up and down. It just kind of gives a little bit of bounce, or a little buffer. But that's, yeah, this is how these windows work, like that. And like I say, they're normally like a very thin little plastic. I don't think even they're nylon, they're just plastic, because they shatter all the time. You grab one of these, and this is all part of that old stuff, because I haven't cleaned these. This is an old one. This is all that plastic. It's all in here, it just shatters. But if you do it like that, like I say, I've seen guys put little like 3/8 nuts and just take the sharp edges off them, and you can just use little nuts in there as well. I've seen that done. I know I have done it. I did it on the gold car that's outside. I'm trying to think, because that car came with a set. He already brought a set of window gears for it. So you just got to kind of line these up with a little screwdriver. Just put them in position so you can slide that. See, they keep falling down. So I usually just put a dab of grease in the back here, and it kind of just holds them in place. So you can, because they keep wanting to fall down. And you can get, well, you saw that it went down before, so I don't have my tripod. I'm holding the camera by hand. But yeah, that's how they work. But right now I'm going to take the take that regulator out of that window, because it needs, this one needs greasing. Yesterday I had the window all the way down, and I had to keep toggling the switch to bring the window back up. So I'm going to take all this off. I already took that one off because I had to get the door lock out. That's why that was already pulled apart, not because of the windows. But this, I'll show you how to do this one. On the 69s, the grab handle is different. The grab handle has these brackets, but they're a lot smaller. The handles are smaller too. And there's a little, I'll show you on this car. You've got to pick the cover off. I can show you on here. You see those little, you see this, you've got to carefully pick this off, and the screw goes in here. The later ones, they're screwed in from the back, but if you have a 69, you've got to take this handle off from the inside before you take the door panel off. The later ones, they're on the door panel, the mount part of the door panel, not 69. So just remember, you got to, it's quite a heavy piece. It shouldn't bend on you if you get the screwdriver in there, and it's just glued on. There's a screw right in the middle here. So that's how you get that grab handle off the 69s. But these later ones, they're screwed in from the back, so they stay on. Now under here, there's 5 screws. It's already missing a screw here. I can feel it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You take those screws off, and this kind of, it slips up inside this armrest. You've got to kind of take the screws out and just pull it out a little bit, and then pull it down, and then disconnect the light. I can show you here. This is the one off the driver's side. So there's the screws underneath. You just unplug the light and just pull it out. And then inside the door armrest are these 3/8 kind of screw bolts. And you've got to be really careful with these armrests because they're really fragile. Can't remember how many there are, 5 or 6. I count. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of these screws go all the way through. The back ones are easy. The front one, you've got to take the speaker out first, because there's one here and there's another one. You can get to this one, but you can't get to that one without removing the speaker. And there's one in the very front here. Like I say, see, these are all busted. They get covered up. You guys try to find mint ones. I just JB weld them on the back. Just put a good dab of JB weld in here. You know, clean it up and JB weld them. Same with that crack in here. See this one, the screws actually pulled right through and smashed. I think I do have that piece of plastic here. I think I did have that. And they're held in with these clips. And sometimes these clips fall off. Like, see, that one's missing. It's missing that clip there. That goes in here. So I have to dig up that clip. There should be another one here somewhere. And here's another one, and here's another one. They kind of just lock into place like that. See, you just hook them. And that's how. And then they, when you put the screw in, it pulls them tight. But yeah, like you've got to take that speaker out. So unplug the speaker. It should be the 2. I think it's the red. But you'll see it. Just unscrew the 4 screws. Be very careful of the speaker if you've got the original speakers, because they're really fragile. The paper, you'll just put your finger right through them. And then the light has 2 plugs. It's kind of an extension cord. So that goes into there, like that. And it goes all the way to the back, and then you plug the light socket in there. But tonight I'm gonna I'll do one switch. I'm gonna do the other thing too is the 70s, 71s are slightly different in the switches. I don't have any out right now. I'm not going to pull these all out tonight. But I'll show you how to do the 69 switch, because I already have one out. They're easier to do than trying to pull all this. Because like I say, this plastic is really fragile, and you're trying to get in there with your screwdrivers. because you've got to kind of feed the screwdrivers through here, and this stuff breaks so easy. I've hardly seen anywhere this hasn't been busted, and obviously this is typical. It's really, really hard to find good uncracked armrests, the padding. I have one out there, but it's not blue. I'm going to have to recolor it and probably see if I can match this blue. But sometimes, like when they're like this, they're not cracked here, but they're just peeled up like this. I can clean them up and glue them down and then clamp it back into place, and it will hold. I have glued one down. I can't remember which car it was, because one of them had started curling up like a dried up sandwich. See, it's popped off the corner here, because that should be tucked in over that plastic and tucked up inside, and this should be curled right up and kind of locked underneath. But yeah, so that's how you do the armrests and the door panels. And the door panels, you need the little I think the tool's in here. You need the where are they? A move tool. You know, one of these. You need one of these to pop the clips out, because if you don't, you're gonna rip. What I normally do is get like a either a very skinny little screwdriver and just run it down the back, and you can feel where the clip, it'll stop on the clip. See, there's a clip there, so I know where to put this. So I take the screwdriver out, and then I stick this in there like that, and you can pop the clips out without ripping them off. And this is a Harbor Freight one. It's a cheapie. Like you use a little screwdriver, or even just a little piece of sheet metal, or even just a blade, because they're right at the edge. You just need something skinny, even something like that. Something even skinny like that will find them. See, there's one there, and you go down, there should be another one here. There's another one there. You just go around and find them, and then just slide this in here like that, and it just pops them out. But yeah, get one of these tools if you're going to work on these cars, because you don't want to bust the clips off the cardboard. I might as well leave this out because I'm going to need it. And get that window ready to disconnect. I'll show you how to take those regulators out. And I'll show you how to do the spring, because the spring is kind of dangerous. If you don't feel confident, you may want to get them, you know, an experienced mechanic to do it, but I'm going to show you how to take the spring off the regulator, because it'll bite you. If you don't know what you're doing, it could take a finger off, because the spring is so tensed and tension, because these windows are so heavy. They're not like a modern car with light glass. These things weigh a ton, so they need a big spring to lift it. So let me get this set up, get the window disconnected. Getting the regulator out is easy. It's pretty simple. Usually what I do is, you've got to drop the window down, because you've got to get to these bolts. Then when it's loose, you can kind of lift the window up, because you want the window as high as you can get, and then clamp it back down, because you've got to get the regulator out of here. So you want to get that glass out of the way. And then when the regulator's out, you can clean this, because this is all they slide on. These two tubes and this aluminum bracket. That's all. That's the guide. That's all there is. So you clean that up and grease it, and I'll show you how to do the regulator. So let me get the tools ready and get this on a tripod, and I'll show you how to do it. So as you can see, guys, I just got some cardboard. Like I say, don't over clamp these vice grips. You just want enough so they hold the glass, so it won't come shooting down, especially on this one. Just clamp it just enough so you can still kind of move but it's not gonna, the glass is not gonna slide out. Now what you need is a 7/16 on the back. There's two nuts. It's actually bolts. The front's a nut. There's this one here on the guide. that one off. Just keep it somewhere safe. And there's another one. I'm going to bring the window down a little bit more. You can also use a wrench on there if you want. Yeah, I'm going to bring it down. You can just take these off because the window's still connected. So, because you've got to be able to reach that second bolt. Let's bring it down a little bit more. Because the gear's stripped, so the window's just going to roll up and down. Put that there. Just bring it right down to the edge of the door, so it kind of hits the door and it won't go any further. See, it's not very tight. Sorry, I'm getting in the way. Same here. Just enough. You're just gonna. There's a little ridge in here in this one, so it kind of hooks the ridge. Yeah, like that. Okay. Look, I've not pre-done this one, so whatever happens, happens. You've got to disconnect this. I'll show you why. Unhook this for a minute. Just bear with me. You've got to unhook this plate because the guide, you've got to pop it past this. So you kind of push the guide out of the way. See, now you can run the regulator out through here because you've got to put the wheel in here and then bring it in. Otherwise you can't get that wheel, this arm off, this lift arm, because this thing locks it in place. And on the front, you only, put some more light in here, you only need to undo that nut, and that's the adjusting nut as well. So when you do that, the whole window can move back and forward, so you can align it with the seal. So you do the same up front. See this, now it's got to come back up a little bit, but let's get a wrench on there. Hang on a minute, go and get a wrench. Okay, so I've got the wrench. I got gear wrenches, so it's a little easier to get it. You just stick your hand in here like that, and you can undo that. See, it's in there. Just undo that nut. Because now I should be able to grab that window and slide it backwards and forwards. Take that off. Now, one thing too, guys, before you start doing this, disconnect your battery, please. I should have said that first, but sometimes this washer pops off, sometimes it doesn't. I just wanted to bring the camera over here so you could see that nut in here. This is the front of the door. It's just that one. You don't have to take this one here off, because you only want to take, because this is connected to the window. These big plates, these aluminum plates, are part of the window. They're glued on. It's all part of the framing, and these are just the guides. But you don't have to take this off. This car is actually pretty clean in here. Normally I find it's still got, I mean, the grease is still grease, but you just got to put some grease along that rod to help it slide up and down. But you don't have to take this off if it's clean. But if you want to clean it all up, sure, take this off and clean it, like on the back one here. You can take it out just like that. You just take this whole guide out. That's your window guides. It's pretty basic. I think the Mustang's even the same design. The Mustang just has a center one, because they're from the same era. So you just put this back in here. Slide it in, and then when you're ready to do it. But so now, battery's disconnected. All the power's off in here. Unplug all this so you can get rid of this armrest. And these blocks have little squeeze clips on the bottom. You just squeeze these together like so, and you just kind of wiggle the switches apart. These ones are just rubber fit. They're just rubber squeeze fits. These ones have little clips too. You just squeeze them like so. because the next thing you got to do is reach in here. I'm going to give you some more light. See if I can do it this way. You've got to reach in here and unplug that motor. It's just a rubber plug, 2-pin plug. So you just kind of pull it apart like that. Sometimes they're easy, sometimes they're, because there's a little ridge in here where they lock together, kind of waterproof it. There was paper on here, guys, when I pulled this door panel off. I usually don't put paper on there. I have a roll of masking plastic for spray painting, and I just spray this with glue and cover it with plastic. Plastic's a lot better than that black tar paper, because it rips real easy when you cover it in plastic. There's no water's going to get in behind it. So let me get this done, get this all unplugged so the armrest is out of the way. And then you take these 4 bolts out of here. I've got to think now because it's been a little while. There's another guide here. Yeah, there's another one here, and there's a little guy. It's been about a year or so since I've done one of these. But there's but anyway, I'm going to do it on camera. Because once that window is up and clamped, you don't have to worry about the glass. As long as you've got the clamps, because this is going to hit this if it tries to go down, it'll hold it in place. Because you've got to take that whole regulator out. So sometimes I take these off if that's in the way. Usually it's not. But it's not that hard to take this off. They're just clipped in there, like modern stuff. They've just got those little clips that hold it in place. Just unclip it and pull the rod out and just swing it out of the way. But normally I can get them out without doing this. So let me unplug everything. You don't need to see that. It's just, like I say, you just squeeze these 2 little tabs here on the ends of the plug. And you just kind of see like that. And this one's the same. Brown is the windows, black is the seats, and one is the door lock. Even after I haven't used these have electric and vacuum door locks, and they still work when it's plugged in. The other one, so one is door locks, and the other one is, I can't remember which is which, but the other one is the window lockout, so you can switch all the windows off so the kids can't play with the windows. And the green, the 3, is the lights, and the red is the speaker. And I already took that all apart because I had to pop the lock out so I can get keys made for this, because I had no keys. So let me put the camera back up on the tripod, and I'll start taking this regulator out. Now this front arm, you've got to kind of pull it out a little bit to pop it off that bolt, that pin. So now, let me put some gloves on because that glass is slippery. I've got grease on my fingers. So now I should be able to lift this. Actually, I've got to, that's right, you've got to disconnect the regulator first and slide it back, and then you can lift the window up. Like I say, it's been a while since I've done one, guys, so wasn't pre-set up. I do have an impact, but most guys, some guys still don't have impacts. They've still got just a little socket set. It's a 7/16. Leave that last one in there because I'm still going to disconnect this stuff. Get rid of this armrest. It's in that way. Over there. There's down here is a bolt You've got to take this one out too. There's a little L-shaped bracket that kind of grounds out the window motor. It's rubber mounted on there, but it's rubber, but it is still a grounding strap. It just keeps the motor in place. It's just a little. And it might just drop down when I take it out. Hear that? Just drop down. I can hear it pulling on the. Reach your hand in here, and see, now the window is disconnected. Got to pop the little roller wheel off. See how heavy these are? Look, it's pulling that window down. So now I can just reach in here and lift this window right up like that, and then just reclamp it. Bring this right down here. Putting a block of wood in here usually doesn't. See how heavy these are? Oh, these are really friggin' heavy. But there's plenty to grab onto, because those big aluminum plates. You might need a little bit of help with someone to reclamp it. This is what I mean, guys. You got to fight these things because they are heavy, heavy as hell. So, come on, piece of cardboard, cut. That's that one. You just do the same. This one, just slide it down. You don't want to put it on the glass, just on that frame. And now I'm trying to do this in front of the camera. You guys know how this goes. Murphy's Law. It's going to fuck up. I can't find the other. I've got two pair of those flat bladed ones. I can't find the other one. See, it's not tight. So now you can, I know there's that one there. Just grab the whole regulator and work it out. You just gotta kind of wrangle it. So, and there's your regulator. Now the fun part, that spring. I'll show you how I do it. So while you got it out, you can lube up all these hinges, these pivot points, and the same in here, because these plates are almost like sliding against each other, so there's quite a bit of friction. And same in here. You want to put some grease in here, and there, see, it's just sliding. There's a lot of friction in here and here. And especially this one. But all right, let's go around to the other side and take that spring off. Now what I do, guys, is, because I've done it a couple of times, I'll show you around the other side. Just get everything ready and show you how to do this. What I do is, with this big spring, because a couple of times I've screwed up and put it on the wrong way, I just mark it which way the spring goes. So it goes like that. Because if you put it on the other way around, it's going to come flying down, but it won't go back up. So I just kind of mark it, the orientation of the spring, like so. Now how I get these springs off is, alright, so like I say, if you've got smaller vice grips, you need decent ones though. You can do it here, and you can also do it here, but you've got to kind of push the vice grips in. Got to grab this spring. So you clamp it on there like that, and then you need a decent screwdriver. Get this battery out of the way. And then you've got to, like I say, keep your gloves on, because then you grab this and you pull that tension on that, and then you kind of work it off like so. Oh, there. See, it's a almost a full turn. That's how tight these springs are, and these are heavy springs. So now, because if you don't take this off, if you try to take that motor off, if the gears are not stripped out, this thing's gonna take off like a freaking guillotine. Take your fingers off. So you've got to get rid of that spring. So now you can see how tight this is. It's all nasty. I think they're 5/16. Big. Yeah, 5/16. So now you can take the motor off. But like, you can't take the motor off without taking that spring off, without taking a few fingers off as well. Because as soon as you take that gear off here under tension, this thing is just going to go flying, and like if you've got your hand in here, it'll chop your fingers off. And if it doesn't chop your fingers off, it's going to fuck your week up anyway, because they're going to be pretty damn sore. Because I've also seen it where it was on my gold car, where they, instead of putting a spring here like this way, they stuck it here and just thought that that would be enough, but it's not. It's got to be almost a full turn out, otherwise it just won't lift those windows up. So almost a full turn. You got to, like the same again with the vice grip, you got to bring it back and lock it. But I mark it because the other side, because it works in the opposite direction, goes on this way. So you just mark your direction of your arm, which way it hooks. It goes like that. So you just bring it around. But let's get this motor out and get those discs put in there. See all the grease and dirt, it all gets in here. So now it's just a little, there we go. Just a little Phillips screw in here that holds that plate on. I need a bigger one, it's too small. Take that plate off, and clean it up. Sorry. Pop the lid off. See, Those are the plastic gears. It's all plastic. The little discs are gone. See? See, some of them are flat. The other one I did over here, different years. They did the same system up into the 80s. Some are different depending who manufactured them. So you've got to get all that crap out of there. That's all bits of plastic. I don't think it is nylon, because nylon wouldn't have shattered. So with the little screwdrivers, where did I put them? The two little screwdrivers. Just kind of work that disc out like that. So you get in here and clean all that stuff out. And what I also do, guys, is before I reassemble them, there's an adjusting nut on here. So when you put it back together, you can run it on your battery, and you just undo this. I think it's 9/16. Just put the screwdriver in there, because it puts the load on the shaft. And you just, I run it until it starts to tighten up, and then I just back it off just slightly, and then lock the nut. So that's how you do these. But let's show you what I mean by the Chinese. That's a Chinese one. See, the case is a lot deeper too. You can put the heavier or deeper pucks in here. But those aluminum ones will work that I cut. They're going to work. They don't have to be huge, but you just don't want them to slip, and you've got to do it all again. Because once they're in there, they're locked in there. They can't fall out. So now I've just got to clean all this up, clean all the grease and the plastic. It's all smashed plastic. It did work when I got the window regulator working, or I got the power, and then it went up, and then I hit the button to load it, and then it went pop, and I heard them crunch and fall apart. Just a little screw. So get us all cleaned up. You guys don't need to see that. Pretty basic, you know. Just scrape all the grease off with a bit of acetone or whatever. Just clean it all out. Just soak it, or put it in the parts washer if you want. Not the gear, or you could dip it in there and hold it like that. Just don't put the motor in. But get it all cleaned up, and then get yourself a grease gun, because you're going to need one, or grease, just a grease pot. And when I come back, we'll be ready to grease all this up. So I'm going to clean this up now off camera. It's pretty straightforward. And then also I'm going to lube up all the joints in here. Just get them all nice and flexible. Okay guys, so it's all cleaned up. I got the pucks in there. I just wanted to, because these two are different. I cut these pucks for this one, but I noticed this window regulator is slightly different. But all I do is just got to cut these little pucks to length. Just got to be they just got to fit in there. But I just put a little dab of grease on them, because there's a little ledge in there, and they keep wanting to fall down into the middle of the motor. So you just grab that, and you may need a little screwdriver sometimes. They just want to move. You just put them in like that, and then put a bit of oil or grease in there. Just pack this full of grease like so. And just work that grease all the way around. Because on the lid on the inside that goes in here, let me just put my glasses on my nose. It's rubber coated, because this is a rubber seal that seals in there. You can see it's rubber. So just be careful. I just used a bit of paint thinner just to clean all the grease off. But so just make sure you pack this full of grease in here, especially in the gears. And then you can also take the little disc out and just jam some grease in there as well. It'll help. That. Put some grease on that shaft. And just work that back. See the pucks? One of them just fell down again. Just saw it move. So you just got a little screwdriver, just there you go. So it's in place. But yeah, be generous with the grease because it's sealed. Especially around that gear set. And then you just flip this over. So just push all the grease in. Put the screw back in there. And that's how they're done. And like I say, you can, what I normally do is I preload them again. It's a 9/16, it's 9/16 or 5/8. It's 5/8. May even be bigger. It's 5/8. Just snap that loose. You don't need to unscrew it too far, just enough so you can get the screwdriver on there. And then just grab the screwdriver. And then hook the motor up like I did before. Put a screwdriver in here. Just put a screwdriver in there. Put your jumpers on there. It only has to turn in one direction. Just clamp that on there like that. And find my other screwdriver. This will do. And you just see. You'll see what I mean when I adjust this. See that? Hear that? So you just take it, so just back it off so you don't hear that noise. And then tighten that up. It just stops the shaft from moving in and out because there's grease in here, so I can actually take that off and show you what's going on in there because nothing happens. Yeah, that's what's happening. Sometimes too with a little screwdriver I'll just smear all that grease in there. Just don't get it caught in the gears, but up here it's fine. You could actually do with some more grease. So, because you want plenty of grease in those gears, see how it's stuck on here? Take that. See, now it's using that grease in those gears. I'll just put the lid back on. That's how you rebuild one of these motors. And then you just unclamp it. And you can switch these two around so it goes the opposite direction. Switch, watch, see? Now it goes in the other direction. That's all there is to it. Like I say, the hardest part is getting that spring off the regulator. It's the most dangerous part. The rest of it's pretty straightforward. So these motors are isolated, because if they're grounded out, it'll only run in one direction because the polarity will always be negative. So they're isolated, so they flip-flop the polarity when you push the switch the other way around. So these are negative and positive. Not the case. And that's that little elbow I was talking about. That's inside the door. It just holds it in place so it doesn't twist and flex. So now I'm just going to flip this around. Put this in here. See what I mean? If you undid that spring and you had your finger in here, it would take your finger off. And then just with a wire brush, clean up all that grease, dirt. It's mainly dirt around that motor. Just a little razor blade scrape, just get all the grease off, the old grease. Same on that side of the gears. Come on. Grab some lube. Get a nice lube in there. Let's soak right in there. This is double-sided, this one. Goes on both sides. Up in here. Okay. You just got to make sure your teeth are still within the when you bolt the motor in, it's still within these teeth. You know, don't bolt it in up here because it's locked out. Your motor won't be able to grab those teeth. So anywhere in there, it doesn't matter. So you just grab it like that. It goes like that. So let me set this up so it's kind of easier to do. You can put a little bit of grease in there. Just where that shaft runs. You don't need to grease those until you put the motor on. As it goes, you're going to touch it and get covered. So you just got to line these up. Like I say, just make sure you've got your gears are, you just got to think orientation. Go to that and just put the 3 little bolts back in. Sorry. You don't have to over tighten them because you'll strip, this is just pop metal, you'll strip them out. So don't torque them down, but make sure they're just snug. That. And then you can test it. Put the motor in, because this is all going to move on you. So you clamp the motor down. Because this is how it works. It kind of goes up like this. So you've got to hold it, because otherwise this gets jammed in here as well. Kind of hold that arm out, but. That in there. See, they're going to do it one way or the other. So, but don't keep running it like I was doing before, because once you hit the stop, that's it. That's all you're going to get. What we did was so. Just hold that out of the way. See, it stopped. It locked it. And then just swap these around and go the other way. Like I say, guys, normally I do this on the ground and it's a little easier, but I'm trying to demonstrate it as well. See? I haven't greased it yet either, so it'll help once I put a little more grease in here. Just run the grease right along that on these teeth. Same on the other side. You could probably put a bit of grease in there, because that'll work its way in. Like in here, just it'll work its way into the. That one you wind, it's too much of a gap, but this one, put a little dab on there. Just in here, it'll drag it inside it. Yeah. That's how it works. It goes down like that. It's actually the other way around. This is the outside of the door. So let's see if it'll run a little nicer now. I'll put some more grease on it. Flip these around again. That's it. Done. Now the fun part, put the spring back on. It's already on. So it goes, see the orientation's that way, so I'm going to go there and then bring it all the way around. It's not fun. Not fun at all. This is the part I hate. Getting it off is not that bad, but putting it back on is a lot more scary. What you can also do is maybe clamp it there so it doesn't come flying out. But you need a screwdriver or something just so you can pry it in there. See, this is tight. That's what I mean, you got to have that really tight on that spring because I already wanted to jump off. It's probably got a bit of grease on it too. Let's see if I can do this on camera and lose a finger. Oh, shit. Oh god, this is the... There it is. And then grab a whacker. This is the dangerous part. Yep, it's on. Like I say, guys, and I've repeated it a few times, that is the worst part of this whole window repair shit. It's this freaking spring. So now it's just a reassembly. There's a little tab in here. The spring, once it's in there, it's locked in there. There's a little tab in here. But that's just the scariest part. The first time I did it, actually I took the motor off and learnt the hard way. I nearly lost a finger. Wash your hands because you've greased all this shit up, so you're going to get grease on you too. It gets a little slippery trying to maneuver that shit in there. So, kind of line these up together like that. Put the motor in. You can stick your hand in here and grab it. That's my flashlight. Get it in there, like so. And then just lift it up and mount these two first. I've got the battery here with the jumpers because you may need to adjust it so you can realign it. So you need to get the nuts and bolts ready. So there's different size bolts. The two long ones, they went into that aluminum plate, and these short ones go into this sheet metal. And then there's one more odd one like that. It goes in the motor to hold her in place. You've got to kind of grab this thing out. It's kind of awkward for me doing this because I'm trying not to get in front of the camera. There's the plate. Yeah, I may need to lower this. Lower the window down a little bit. Yep. Adjust that window. Adjust the regulator. pretty maxed out. There we go. Now I should be able to get it on there. I'm just trying to think. I think, yeah, I've got to leave one on. I did it wrong, guys. You know, like I said, it's been a while, and you're seeing how it really is. You know, I didn't pre-do everything and get it all set up, so I just fly through it. But I've got to get the arm back on the window regulator, on the aluminum plate. That wheel's got to go back in here. So there's a wheel on here, nylon wheel, and I've got to get it back in. Actually, I've got to take it all off. Yep. See, even I mess up. Put that wheel on the window first. The tracks up here. I can bring the window down a little bit. Just a little bit. Now I can guide it. Guy back in. There it is. Okay, so it's on. So now I can bolt it up. There's it on the floor. Now we grab the regulator. Just kind of, once you get one done, you can kind of swing it into position. You can pop this one on the front, on that pin that's on the window itself. You can see it. Come on. Take this off again. I just want to get the front one on. Just put that nut on finger tight. Just so it doesn't pop off again. Come on. Otherwise sometimes it'll slide off and that arm will pop off, that wheel will pop off again. But now it's stuck on there. I'm sweating. Okay. So now I'm gonna put the guide back on here. This is just so the window doesn't tip on an angle. Just put the guide back on it. Can't quite get my arm in there, but gotta drop it down a little bit more. It should stay in place because it's on the regulator. The regulator's not bolted in, but it's this is what I need. Just to get that bolt in there. Okay, got my finger. Hear that window creaking? How heavy it is. It's come on, grab. Okay, so it's on. It's on. Now I've got to line up the window, the regulator. So now I've got to move it around so it lines up with those holes. You guys thought this was easy, huh? Because from where I'm sitting I can see that big square regulator plate, and I just got to kind of get it. Because I've got to line these bolts up with that plate's coming up. It's nearly there. Just a little bit more. You may want some help to do this, because the thing that's so bad about this is this window is so heavy. That's what's the pain in the ass, because it just wants to push everything down. See, once I get that one hole lined up, then I can adjust it. Bring it back a little bit. Damn it. It's down too far. The plate's right there. I'm just gonna line it up. Just gotta catch my breath, guys. Like I say, this window is so friggin' heavy. Almost there. Come on. Why? See, the thing is, my fingers are covered in grease too. I can't grab this window because it keeps slipping out of my fingers. Come on. Grab an awl, see if I can locate the plate. Come on. Yeah, got it. Now just got to get the other one to line up. So I tap this. Gotta go the other way. So that's that one. So now I should be able to just tip it up. There it is. There. Line the other hole up. Got it. Oh, finally. I was cussing some bad words off camera. I'm not going to tighten them right up because I still got to do these bottom ones. Got another awl here. See if I can line that bolt hole. Oops. I was too keen. Had to swap out the battery and the SD card, they're both full. I'm just trying to get these two lower holes lined up. Not too far. Come on. Oh, damn it, come on. Let's see if we can get the hole in there. Yep. All right, so now got to put the arm, that little arm, that's got to bolt it back in there. Lift the window up a little bit. Window's going to come up. Wrong one. Wrong way. little plate up. It's just a little bit. It's in. Strength 2, 4. Oh, the bolt for the. I got to bring the motor up a little bit. It's in the way. That little L plate. Right now. Okay, let's see what happens. There you go. That's how it works. So just put a little bit of grease on those runners. Only the front and back, it doesn't really grab on the sides. Should be it. I still have to adjust the window because I think it's too far forward. Bring it back a little bit. So I've got to bring it down. Because it's hitting up against this rubber here. See what I mean? You can slide that whole set back. That's how you adjust the window to fit the door. Actually, you know what? Let me put it up, right up, and then I'll adjust it where it's supposed to be. Let's see if that fits inside the window frame. far forward, so grab it. Tighten it up too much. Come on, bring it back a little bit. It's too far forward, it's locked. It's tilted. Bring it up. Bring it back a little bit. Try that. From here. I'm not going to over tighten it because I've still got to adjust it up. Just trying to get as close as I think it needs. Okay. Normally I do this from inside, but I'm trying to get this on camera for you guys to see it. Perfect. Rubber's all broken on the end, but yep, perfect. That's where it needs to be. Okay, so plug that back in. And I'll plug in the armrest. I know that a driver's door switch is working, the other ones are not. I know that. Hook up the battery. Cable. Hook my battery up. That clacking noise you're hearing is the auto seat releases. If I push this button in, there's a button up here somewhere. You hear that clicking? There's solenoids in the seats. Well, that's what that noise is. Now, plug this in. Looped up a little bit. Plus it rolls up now a bit better when the door panel's on there too, because it's pushing on the weather strip in there guides along, because this window's rattling. So that's how you do the windows, and now I'll show you how to do the switches. So here's the switches. This is the back window switch, but the switches are all the same for the front and the back. And what you need to do is like a couple of little awls or something, and there's two little holes in here. You got to kind of poke them in there and then kind of work them up like that. Once you get them up a little bit, you can get the awl. There's a slot in here, so there you go, like that. Get these switches out. You just kind of walk them out there, like that. So there's one window switch. Like I say, front and rear are the same. Now they're pretty basic. The one thing you've got to remember is on the master switch, this copper plate, there is two of them. What I normally do is put in like lower, put L out, lower out facing. And then on the master switch there's two. The other one is in the opposite direction, because you can see these are crimped. On the master switch there's a second plate that's crimped the other way around, so I usually like lower out and then upper out on the master switch on the two. I don't have one spare. The car I'm working on now, it's a little bit different where the wires are connected. They're not on a plug, they're actually wired, but the switch operation is basically the same. So what I do is just put lower, just put low out, so it's facing lower out, and then upper out, and then just with a little screwdriver just kind of work that plate up. It's crimped on there. See it? You can flatten it out once you got it off. If you bend it up a little bit, it won't hurt it, because usually I flatten out the crimps anyway, so they got a good grip. So you just kind of work it off. See what I mean? These are crimped, and it doesn't matter which way you put it back on. That doesn't matter. And this little pin here actually locks onto the plug. So when you plug it in, it's a little lock tab. But now what you do now is same with just a little screwdriver. I'm just using an awl because I had it handy. You just whip that little clip off. You could mark which side the clip came off if you want to do that. I just with just like that, just put an arrow so I know which way the one with the clip went, and then just do the same on this side, like that. And then you separate the two switches. Hold on to that because it's spring loaded. Like that. And you pull that one out. You can actually pull the whole unit off the other half. See, there's two little spring loaded detents in here. These are actually quite clean. They're not bad. Usually they're all gummed up and they're stuck. And you'll find that the rocker just flops around. There's no retention on it. And here's your window switches. So all you do now is get some fine sandpaper. If I can find this paper. This was just a spare the moment thing, guys. I'm not really organised, but I thought, nah, I've got to get these windows, this car done with the windows, show you how to do it. I just get a bit of sandpaper, like 220. 300 something. You don't want too coarse, and all you're going to do is just hold your finger on there and put it in there, and just kind of squeeze it together and run it through the sandpaper like that. Just to clean up those, because normally what happens with these cars is they leave the door open in the rain and the water gets in here and they corrode real bad for some reason. And you've got to be careful with the later model ones, with the Mark IV and 5s. They've been prone to catch fire with the switches for the seats, because the seat switches are hot all the time. So that's how you do it, just clean them up. These fall out, they're just held in there, they're just kind of, just push it back in there. They do fall out sometimes. Just push it back in, kind of, not really tightly crimped, but like I say, just run the sandpaper through them, just like a set of points, because that's all they are. Just clean them up like that one. A little tab fell out, but once you put it back together, it's held in place. It can't come out. And just do the same on the other side. Just run it through like that. And then usually I'm just quickly doing this, guys. These are actually clean. They're a little, like, you need to wipe them down. They come up pretty good. I think they're Bakelite. They're not plastic, they're actually Bakelite. And then you can pull these out. See a little spring in there. And then just put a bit of grease in there. Actually, what I normally do is just put a little dab of grease on those 2 points. Just a little bit, just so it has some lube. Just put some grease on there like that. Because these are actually still clean. I'm kind of surprised how clean the switch is. Just put the spring back, put these in there, put the springs in. Quite tight. Like that. Now the fun part. You've got to put this together and kind of squeeze it together so you can get the this pin in there and not break the damn thing off. You're gonna kind of squish it together like that, and then squish it down again, just like that, and then just push it together like that, and then you put the other half of the switch back together, and there you go. And I put the arrow there so the clip goes that way, faces the same way as the pins. Then it goes on here. Normally I get a little wire brush, a very fine wire brush, and just clean up these. And the same with this. I just put it on a hard surface. Just tap it flat. Tap those crimps flat. And just like that. What I also do is I get a little tiny little socket, just enough so it fits over there, and just tap these back in or push them back in, see, like that. And just do the same for all the switches. But the front ones, like I say, the front ones are there's 2 gangs, 2 sets of 2. And I've got a double plate. There's 2 switches next to each other, obviously for the master switch, and there's a separate second gang as well, and they have the 2 plates, but there is also a piece of insulation in between so they don't touch each other. Unfortunately, I don't have a 69 master switch, but yeah, so there's a plate, insulator, and a second plate, but the second plate, the crimping's on the opposite way round, so when you pull them off, mark them like lower out, and the upper is obviously upper out. And it's a 12 gang. And that switch should now work. Feels good. But like I say, the later ones, the wires are attached. They're not plugged, so they just got a little pigtails, but they basically the same thing. You just pull them apart, just like this one. See, that's those little tabs that lock into the because this is a back window switch. So there's a window and the light switch for the back. And these little tabs lock in here. Doesn't matter which way you put it back in. And a lot of them, these ones are already gone. They have little plates glued in here, and they fall off all the time. I do have some laying around, but see, this one's missing, and you can see the glue. See the glue there? They're kind of like it, kind of like this. They're kind of brushed. They have a brushed finish on them. So that's how you do window switches. Do all 7. Yeah, there's 7. There's 4 in the master and 1 in each corner. So that's 7 switches. You've got to do all the switches because the windows will not work if you don't do the individual switches on the doors and in the back windows. Just the way they set up, they feed through these to continue the power supply. So if you do the master switch and you don't bother doing the passenger's door and the 2 in the back, the windows still won't work. You've got to do all of them. And this one's just the same, but it's just missing the pins because it's just an on-off switch, just for the light. So it's not a, this is a momentary switch, so that's momentary. Well, this is a on-off. This one's pretty rotten. But yeah, so switches, they're good fun. These aren't bad. They're not that hard. You know, probably the hardest part's getting them out of here. Kind of put it back and see if I can get it out again. You just got to push that little plate in and see, work it up. There's a little spring plate. Just pop it up, and then there's a little slot in here so you can kind of walk it out. And there you go. That's how you get them out. But you've got to take the door panels off. You can't, like on some of the later Fords, this was held in with a screw underneath. These don't work. These, you've got to take the whole panel off to get the switches out, especially on the back. The fronts are just in the armrest, but in the back, you've got to take the armrests out. You've got to take the seats out and the armrests because there's screws holding the rear panel in. They're behind the seats. This would clean up okay because the lettering's still good. I could clean this up, but this is pretty eaten up. So there you go, guys. Switches. I showed you guys last night how to do the 69 switch because they separate in the 2 halves. You got to pull that plate off, and then you just take these clips off, pull the plate off, and you split the case, and you can take the whole guts out of here. On the later ones, they have the pigtails attached. Now the way to get these ones apart, I didn't really explain that while doing this one. These are for the 70 and 71 onwards. The rocker switches are held in place there with a little pin. And the way to get them out is, I'll put it back in. This spring's not in there right now because I've already pulled them apart. So there's a little tiny C-clip. I don't know if you can see that because I've got glue and shit on my fingers here. There's a tiny little C-clip that you push this right in, and the C-clip clips on here. You can just feel the little edge. So you just push that pin through, pull it out, and this falls out, and then you can get to the points. Now what I've done is I made a little tool just out of a piece of scrap metal, because the problem is with the switch, the other switches, the 69 switches, there's a set of points on each end, so there's just one set of points, well actually 2, but just one contact. These ones are a double contact, so there's a set of points right under here. You can see that. But underneath underneath here is another set. So it's not really a problem cleaning these points, but what I did was I made a little tool. It looks like just out of a piece of scrap metal. Made a little tool like this. It's kind of S-shaped because you want it so, because you've got to get that. I'll show you in here. You need a little awl or a little screwdriver as well to push the copper plate down. It's kind of, so what I do is push the copper plate down like that, and then because it's cut on an angle, it's actually this one here. I need this one. I made two because it's for left and right. So you just stick that in there, and that's how you clean the points, the uppers. Just got to get it past that. There's a little set of points in there, a little round dome. Just got to get that piece of metal right past it. I've just contact glued a piece of sandpaper on there and just cut it really, really thin. Just as long as it's thinner than the strips, otherwise you won't get it in behind there. So it's kind of awkward. It's awkward because I'm trying to do this in front of a camera. But push that plate down and you get that in here. You can feel it resist because there's a little set of points there that are welded on. Come on, I just had it in there because I just tested it. Maybe just bend it up just a little bit so it kind of hooks up. There, it's in. So now it's in there, and all you do is, because it's a piece of metal, just go backwards and forwards with the sandpaper and just clean those points out. Got to pop that back down again. There. So there it is. So you just it doesn't take much, just, it's kind of awkward doing this. I had this clamped in before, so, but I've got this, you don't want to know how this camera's set up right now. But there, that's how I clean the points, see, like that. It just takes a few little strokes and you can get the points cleaned like that. And you got to do the same underneath. It's a little easier getting it in here because this plate is actually spring loaded upwards. So you should be able to feed this in here like so. This is a shorter one. I've got to do that one. Maybe just a minute, just snip a little bit off this. So you get this under there, just curl it up a little bit more. You've got to kind of, sorry, get in front of the camera, get it behind there and get it all the way to the back. And you just do the same. Just move it backwards and forwards. But this one you're going to have to put a little bit of pressure on the plate because it's not under tension on those points. And you do the same with these. Just get the sandpaper, just go in there and just go in there. You know, once you've figured out how to make this, it's just a little, I'll draw it, then I'll, where is my Sharpie? So I just drew it out like that. And then kind of like that. That's how I made it. And then when you've snipped it out, this is just a very thin, this is actually an old light fitting. My fluorescent lights, I threw them out and I still had some scrap lying around. And then just with a pair of snips, just snip them out like that. because you won't just get a piece of sandpaper in behind there. The sandpaper will just fold up on you. I'm trying to do this and seeing if they're in the camera. Okay, so that. Same this side. So just like that, little kind of a Z shape. And then just kind of flatten it out. And what I did was I just put some contact glue on here and on here, and I just grabbed a little strip of sandpaper, put some contact glue on there, and then just how I do it is just glue it on there like that and then fold it over. That way it won't peel that up if you're trying to push it past the point. So just contact glue it on there, and then what I did was a little pair of pliers, just kind of fold them up like that, and the same with that, just kind of fold it the other way. You might need another pair. And just so like that. So now it's kind of, see like that, see what I mean? So that way you can get them in here, because you this thing here is proud, so you got to get it past that. These are actually a little bit long. Just snip them off. Just so you can get it in there and then tuck it in like that, and then you can grab a pair of little pliers and just with the once the sandpaper's on there, you can clean those points. See? So I'll do with these. This has got the sandpaper on it. The wrong one. It's this one. Just go in there, and then with a little pair of pliers, just go in there. Put a little bit of pressure on that plate because it's underneath and it's sprung upwards, not downwards. So that's how you clean those window contacts. When you pull it out, you should see some copper, or I think they're copper, the actual contact points. And same with this one, you just push that plate down because it's under upward tension. You just go backwards and forwards and clean those points. Like that. These are a little bit harder to do than the 69s, but they are, you can do them. They're just a bit of a pain. You've got to make up this little gadget to kind of get in there. Just flip it around. You can do the same this side. So what I also use is, it doesn't hurt, is this stuff here, contact cleaner. I just brought this from Lowe's or Home Depot. It's not a specialty store thing. They both sell it. It just cleans the contacts a little bit. So you can, because this is wet and dry paper. This can's just about out of, yeah, anyway, the can's just about done. There's no pressure left in it, but yeah, get some contact cleaner. Let's just clean those points up and get those windows working again. So that. Get underneath, the same. I usually have this clamped so it's kind of steady. It's kind of a freehand job. You just push that little plate down, and I'm trying to hold this and operate. So just push it down and just go backwards and forwards as well, underneath the plate, not on top. See? You hook it underneath and then go right in there and clean those points. If you look carefully, I don't know, a little zoom, and you can actually see a bit of the point sticking out there, right there. This is stuck, so there's nothing you can do with that. You might be able to push it over a little bit like that. You just got to be careful with these pigtails, they break off quite easy. So you don't want to snap any of the wires off. That's how you do it. See how dirty they are. It's just, I've not done a toggle switch yet, so it's probably the same setup. It's just instead of having one set of points, there's probably another set of points going this way as well. So you can toggle that way and toggle that way, because that's what it feels like. And originally these switches did have little plastic or rubber shields on them, but they're no good. So thin they just fall off. Actually had one laying on the ground here. This is the little rubber shields that used to be on them, but they don't do anything. They just fall off. They kind of, see, even on these switches, they're just you know, they're 50 years old. They're crimped off with, there was a screw, but they're crimped in. I know you could get a new set and kind of, see, they just rip and just, they're worthless. And on these ones, like on the 69s I showed you, the toggle has the two little spring-loaded detents. These have a single, and it looks like that. Like a little T, it's in the spring, and the spring goes into that, goes over that little pin, so that you put that on there like that, and then the toggle switch sits on there like that. That's how they work. Yeah, that's a half cut out because that pin goes through here and kind of locks it in place as well. So it can't flip out. Because I've had it with the later ones, the 80s and 90s switches. This thing always kind of flips out. So they're not a great design, these ones, but they're a little sturdier in that respect of the, put it on there. The pin only goes in one way because one hole's bigger than the other, so the pin goes in that way, like so. Just push it all the way through, just guide it. And just push it right through. You have to ram it, but push it as far as it'll go. And it's small, but there is a little lip under there. You hear it? And then you put the little tiny little C-clip on there. I'm not going to do it now because I'm not ready yet, but the C-clip just clips back on there like that. C-clip or an E-clip, some people call them E-clips because it does look like a E. Now I can do it. There you go. See, it's locked in. Now the switches should be functioning again. I'm going to clean it up a little more. I'm just giving you a quick demonstration how to do these later ones. And the clips, these clips are a little bit different too. They don't snap in, they just go in here. And you kind of, same with the other one, you just got to pop that little detent out. But once it snaps up, you can actually grab these with a pair of needle nose pliers and pull them out. And they're all the same, even on this, even on the toggle switch, it's the same. See, there it is there. The toggle switch is actually, the top comes off this one. See how it's, this is kind of like the 69 clips. They hold the two halves together. I already pulled this one apart, so I was messing with it. I've got the C-clips over there. So that's how you do the 70 and 71s, and probably the Lincolns as well, and Fords. I think the Fords have the same switch, so Ford, Lincoln, and Continental. Yeah. I mean, you can get in there with a little brush and just clean everything up, because it's pretty corroded in there. But the main thing is getting those points cleaned up. So you just gotta get in there like that. Sand those points down. And if your paper wears out, I just little thin razor blade, I just peel it off and just glue some more on there if they're getting a little wore out. Just like that, just get razor blade, pull it off. And this is the stuff I'm using. Got cans of it because I go for a lot. Now, I forgot to mention, I had to completely disassemble this again last night after I got it working, because the window had come off that big aluminum track, and I put some glue in there and pushed it back in, but the way the arm lifts that thing up, it keeps wanting to tip it. So I had to take the whole window out and glue it back in and just sit it there with weight on it. That's why it's grease and it's covered in glue. There's a bunch of glue here. The same with that contact glue. I just cleaned it up and then glued the two slides, and they go right into the ends of the glass on each end. And then you've still got that adjustment, so you can, because the window, the door closes now. Because remember in the earlier video, it was binding in here. Now it's a little bit of a gap here, but these rubbers are all rotted out too. They've gone all hard, and there's no give in them. But it's sealing here, so that's the main thing. Yeah, the main thing was it was bending right there. But now it's good. And the window goes up and down nice. Okay guys, that's it.